Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome once again to Sunday service at Ananda. Today it's a special day. It's the International Day of Yoga, and it's in a way, for those of us on the path of yoga and meditation, this is our day. The United Nations declared it as such, not our day, declared it as the International Day of Yoga in 2014. And for the past 6 years, we've been celebrating that here at Ananda, and we will today as well. We'll have more details during announcements. But to commemorate this day, for us, I thought we'd start off with a yoga joke. Okay, how's that? So here it is. How is the yogi going to order a slice of pizza? He's going to say, make me one with everything. He's hungry. Okay, that's a bit cheesy. Fine. Here's another one. Why did the bagel struggle in a yoga class?
Say again.
Why did the bagel struggle?
It couldn't find its center. Okay, sorry, I better move on.
Yeah.
It just cracks me up every time I hear that. So today's topic. Today's topic is it's a very profound one. The eternal now. It's one of those that when you hear it, it's so simple but so profound, so against common sense that the mind struggles to kind of grasp its full meaning. As you saw in the reading today, Swami said that God is as much with us now as He will ever be. And used as we are to the cause and effect nature of our existence, we think that we meditate today, we do good works, we lead a virtuous life, we serve others, and in doing so we make spiritual deposits into a cosmic bank account somewhere. And over time, as we pay off our karmic debts and the cosmic bank balance increases to a certain level, God might stop whatever He's doing running the universe and then say, there's a balance worth paying attention to, and kind of walk up to us, and so we find God. That's because we are conditioned by time. We tend to think that we work today in order to gain rewards in the future. We invest for the future, for example. Is that how it works? In today's reading, in the Gospel of John, chapter 4, Jesus Christ says, absolutely not. That's not how it works. He's very emphatic, and I want to get the reading right. Says, say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh the harvest. Do you not say that? Behold, I say unto you, lift your eyes and gaze on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. So what Jesus is saying with this metaphor is that God is here and now, not there and later, but here and now. And all we need to do, simple to say, all we need to do is lift our eyes and feel His presence. It's a very profound statement, so let's dig a little deeper into it. It has a lot to offer us. In fact, it contains within it both the definition of yoga and the technique of yoga. So let's dig a little deeper. At the heart of yogic teachings is, yogis have always taught this. They say that God is not to be found, He is to be revealed. I think about that for a moment. In the textbook of yoga is called the Yoga Sutras. It was a text written probably 2,300 years ago by a sage, a self-realized master named Patanjali. We don't know too much about him, except he's kind of a savant. He wrote books on yoga and grammar and Ayurveda. You will find his name kind of sprinkled all across the canon of Indian scripture. And the Yoga Sutras, it's very short. If I held it in my hand, it'll probably be, it'll all fit into this single page. You may not even need double-sided for it. It's very, very small. And in chapter 1, saying number 26, Aphorism Sutra, he says that God is unconditioned by time. And this forms kind of, not forms the basis, he's echoing yogi's experience across the ages that God is to be revealed, not to be found. Now, there was once at Spiritual Renewal Week many years ago, that's an annual gathering of everybody at Ananda. In fact, it's beginning virtually this year for obvious reasons, next Monday, not tomorrow, the one after. But there was once at the Spiritual Renewal Week, Devarshi, who runs, who's the head of all the monks in India. He was giving a talk, and it really has stuck with me since then. I derive inspiration from it even today. He said that, don't go into your meditation thinking, I've only meditated for 2 months, 2 years, 20 years. There'll always be someone who's meditated for longer than you have. That's always the case. Because the spiritual path is not linear. You don't get from here to there. He said, this meditation that you're about to walk into could be it. You could, all the layers of delusion, the veil of Maya has been thinned out so much that when you go into meditation today and sit down, that may be it. You would see the presence of God right there. So it's really stuck with me, and it's at the heart of what today's reading was all about, the eternal now. See, if we think that we need to go there to find God, dwell on it for a moment. What does that mean? It means that here, if we need to find God there, then God is not here in me right this moment. And yogis take a big exception to that. That's not the case. Patanjali takes an exception. God is unconditioned by time. Paramahansa Yogananda, whose teachings we follow here, he said, you shouldn't say God was or God will be. The only thing you can say is God is. Jesus says very famously once on the Mount of Olives, when he's talking to the scribes and the Pharisees, he says, before Abraham was, I am. Before Abraham was, I am. Not I was or I will be. It wasn't a claim of age. In fact, throughout the Bible, there are these famous I am statements, they are called. There's about 7 of them, and including this is 8. It's a reflection of what Patanjali said, that God is unconditioned by time. Before Abraham was, I am. And this is what Jesus is referring to when he says, don't say that I have to wait for 4 months for the harvest. If you lift your eyes, behold, I say unto you, it's white and ready to harvest. See, the spiritual path is not a progression from here to there, but rather it is a process, not progress, but process of deeper and deeper awareness of what is already there, rather than a progress to something that's not there, a deeper awareness of what is already there. It's a famous set of 3 verses in the Bhagavad Gita. They're very famous. Mahatma Gandhi, for example, repeatedly referred to those. Yogananda refers to these often. This is when Arjuna asks Krishna. He says, Lord, how do I know when someone is enlightened? And he says, how does he act? How does he speak? And how does he sit? He's asking, how do I recognize one? And Krishna's reply is very interesting. So let me tell you all the 3 shlokas, verses in Sanskrit, and then I'll give you relevant translation. So this is first Arjuna asking, says, Sthita pragnasta ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava, sthitadhihi prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Dukheshtanudvigya manaha sukheshu vigata smruhaha vita raga bhaya krodha sthita dhir muniruchyate prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyeva atmanatushtaha sthita pragnasta dochyate. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's like listening to the Beatitudes. Whether you understand it or not, there is a resonance in there that comes straight to the heart. So what Arjuna asks is, Sthita Pragnasta Ka Bhasha, the one who is enlightened, Prabhasheta Asita Vrajeta Kim, which means talking, sitting, acting. How? Prabhasheta Asita Vrajeta Kim. And then Krishna says, Dukhesh Tanudvigya Manaha. Dukkha is suffering. Udvigna is kind of up and down. His mind doesn't go up and down with suffering. Sukheshu vigata smruhaha. Smruti, smruha is memory or self-definition. Sukha is outward elation or achievement. His self-definition, his memory of who he is doesn't change with outward relations. With suffering, it doesn't move. With outward elation, it doesn't change. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Vita, beyond, raga, attachment, bhaya, fear, krodha, anger. Beyond fear, attachment or anger. Sthita dhir muniruchyate. Stha is stationary, standing, still. Dhi is that part of the mind which has the ability to know. The wisdom part of the mind is unmoved in such a one. And so what is the result? Atmanyeva, atmanatushtaha. Atma is soul. Atmanyeva, the soul derives tushti, meaning contentment, atmanaha, from the soul. The soul derives contentment from the soul. It's no longer external. So Arjuna says, how does he act? How does he speak? How does he sit? Krishna says, doesn't matter. It's all in the inside. Nothing changes on the outside. You know, there is that famous story. What did you do before enlightenment? I chopped wood and fetched water. What did you do after enlightenment? I chopped wood, fetched water. But everything on the inside is changed. And Yogananda writes this wonderfully in his poem, The Samadhi. He says, past, present, future, no more for me, but ever present, all flowing, I, everywhere. So the more we are in the here and now, the more present we are to the eternal reality of God within us. So that's part of what Jesus said with that. Don't think that it's 4 months yet to harvest. It is already there. Lift your eyes and see. Then, okay, that sounds simple enough, and it's hardly easy, as we all know. Then how do we do that? I was going to say, how do we get there? But that's going counter to what I've been saying all along. So how do we reveal that one? There's an incident in the life of a saint from India from the 11th century. 11th century is this, just halfway into Kali Yuga, halfway into the descending dark age. It is just an extraordinary century. There were so many saints, so many spiritual innovations that happened in the 11th century. And of course, for us on the path, it's 11th century is the century of William the Conqueror, whom Yogananda said that he was in a past life. So in this 11th century, there lived a saint. He's one of the 12 recognized masters in the lineage of Hatha Yoga. All the things that we do, the warrior two and headstand and pranayama, there are 12 recognized masters. And he is one of the 12. His name is Alama Prabhu. Before he became a big guy, he was a drummer in a temple. And then he married a dancer, presumably in the same temple. They were very young, and they had a very happy life. But as happens in life, his wife, the dancer, died very, very quickly. He was so sorrowful, and it was the moment of renunciation for him. He realized that life is pain and suffering. I just have to get away from it. I cannot continue. Because his parents said, marry again, not a big deal. He said, no. You have no idea how big of a deal it is. I just had an epiphany. And then he had heard that in the forests around the village, there were yogis. And yogis would not only teach you all of these yoga poses and such, but they also taught you how to get over pain and suffering, not just temporarily, but always. It always intrigued him. So he goes off into the forest in search of a yogi. And of course, he finds one. This man was, we could just look at him. There was an aura of power emanating from him, power and self-control. So he said, "Sir, will you please accept me as my disciple?" I said, "Of course I will." Then for 12 years, he practices yoga poses, pranayamas, completely learns to control his senses. His body becomes like a diamond. They say that it's invulnerable. And he acquires many, what he later would consider minor powers, but seemed many very major at the time. He could stop his heart at will. He could become breathless at will. He could, walk on coal or melt snow. Not that it snowed in South India, but presumably he could. He acquired all of those powers. 12 years, mind you. Body becomes like a diamond. He goes to his teacher and says, "Sir, I got a problem." "Okay, what's the problem?" Everything you said you would, you delivered on. I'm happy. This is good. I'll give you a good review on Yelp, whatever that is. And then he said, "I got an issue. The reason I came here, my pain and suffering hasn't gone. It's still there." And the yogi says, "Of course it's still there. All I taught you were techniques. It won't give you any lasting peace. Go deeper into the forest. You mean over there? Yeah. It's of no danger to you now. Nobody can harm you. And there you'll find somebody that might teach you these higher techniques." So Hatha Yoga was not enough, even though he was very, very advanced. So he goes deeper into the forest, and eventually he comes across a cave. And he enters into the cave, and there's a very frail old man, not sitting there, but kind of lying, because he was frail. He couldn't move. And his legs are casually propped up on a Shiva lingam. A lingam, it's the symbol of God. It's a very holy thing. You don't put your leg on it. This man, Alama Prabhu, was incensed. He was angry. He says, "How dare you, old man, put your leg and desecrate the Shiva lingam? Move it right this minute." The old man says, "I am very, very frail and weak, as you can see. I cannot move my leg. You seem very strong. Would you please come and lift my leg and move it to another place, away from the lingam?" And then he goes, still very, not very happy. And he lifts this old man's leg and moves it and plops it down because he's angry. He needs to show it somehow. He just plops it down. And before the leg can fall, another lingam shows up there. And then he turns it, plops it, another lingam shows up. This goes on for a little bit, wherever it is. And soon the entire cave is filled with lingam. He's dragging this old guy, trying to plop it, and the old man now, he no longer looks frail. He said, "Did you find a place where there is no God so you could put my leg there?" This was the moment of epiphany for Alama Prabhu. Suddenly he realizes what's going on, and he realizes that God is there in the cave. He's there in the cave of the heart. He is there in every mountain, stream, canyon, crevasse, brook, and in every human being, every animal. It's not a knowledge, but it was a realization that he felt with the heart. And as he is grappling with this realization of yoga, that God is everywhere, the old man who is now standing in front of him gently slaps his heart with the palm of his hand, and he gets enlightened in that moment. He later goes on to write 1,300 poems in vernacular language, which are still chanted today. I grew up listening to those. Some of those are absolutely wonderful. There is one that he says, translated into English, he says, "When the fragrance came, when the bee came, how does it go? Sorry. The fragrance left when the bee came. What a wonder. The intellect left when the mind came. and the temple vanished when God came. So he writes many poems like this. But anyway, let's go back. How do you be in the here and now? How you be in the here and now is for the soul to realize that God is everywhere. When God is everywhere, God is also in you, God is also in me. The soul realizes that God is everything, then it also realizes that God is also you, God is also me. Aham Brahmasmi. Yogananda said, like I said before, you cannot say God was or God will be. You can only say God is. We say I was, and then before that I wasn't because I was not yet born. I will be, and after some time I won't be because I'll be dead. Because my soul is identified with the body, I am bound by time. If I am able to say with complete realization, like Alama Prabhu did, I am, then Master says that is the moment of realization. That is when it is revealed. So being in the eternal now comes from soul expansion to realize the unity of all things. Yoga, International Day of Yoga, that's really what yoga means, that when the soul expands and realizes that God is in everything, then it is no longer bound by the body, and it too can say, I am. Before Abraham was, I am. As Jesus said, the soul can make a similar claim, and it too is enlightened. So let's come back to this verse. From the Bible it says, say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh the harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white, already to harvest. So we talked about the first part. Stay in the eternal now, and the way to do that is to expand the soul beyond the confines of the body and realize the state of yoga, the state of oneness. But how do you do that? I mean, it was good for Alama Prabhu to do it. He came in with extraordinary spiritual karma, and then the old man said this and other lingams appeared. I bet if I tried that, nothing would appear. And it would be, I'd just come back down from the cave. How do you get to that deeper level of awareness? That's the second part. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look onto the fields. They are white and all ready to harvest. Lifting up your eyes is a very fundamental aspect of yoga. Your eyes can look anywhere, they can look outside, in which case they'll be distracted. If you want to focus, what do? You maybe close your eyes, or sometimes I kind of look down. You can look at various spots within yourself with your gaze, and most of them are not that interesting. Nothing happens. When you look down, you probably fall asleep. Where if you look at the tip of your nose, you'll probably get cross-eyed and have a slight headache, and so on. But there is one place that you can look at to lift up your eyes. It's on the forehead at the point between the eyebrows. This is the seat of ecstasy, the seat of superconsciousness, Christ consciousness, as it said in the reading today, the only begotten Son. When Alama Prabhu realized that God is in everything, the essence of God, what is it? Lahiri Mahashai said that it is consciousness which is absolutely still. Okay? So the seat of that consciousness happens to be here. So when lift your eyes and look onto the field is the field of battle, Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, the body and the spine, the field of battle. And in that field of battle, there is one place where you look up and look onto the field. It is already white, ready to harvest. The way Yogananda explained it was, this is the place where there is no vibration, there is no restlessness. If we look here, then if you look here with 1% of your mind, then 1% of your mind becomes still. If you look here with 10% of your mind, your awareness, to the exclusion of all else, then 10% of your mind becomes still. That's its nature. It's like you put your foot in water, the foot becomes wet. You lift your gaze here, put your awareness, that awareness stops vibrating, it becomes still. And in fact, it's very interesting the kind of things that yogis write about. Lahiri Mahashai, who must have been a mathematician of some sort, he quantified these things. He said that the amount of restlessness here, these are the chakras in the spine, the energy centers. The amount of restlessness here is 10 times more than here, and the amount here is 100 times more, and all the way down to the base of the spine, 100,000 times more restlessness. So let's lift your eyes and look onto the field. What Jesus is saying is this essential teaching of yoga, the only begotten Son, gaze at the point between the eyebrows. And when the mind becomes still, it can expand beyond and realize the unity in all things. That is the way to the eternal now. So coming back, way to the eternal now. English is just tripping me up when you talk about these unmoving, staying here kind of things. Coming back to the International Day of Yoga, every single yogic technique, if a technique has the prefix or the suffix yoga next to it, then its only job is to bring our consciousness from out there, down here, to in and up here, this inward and upward direction of movement of consciousness. If anything you do does that, then that's yoga. If anything you do does not do that, it is not yoga. Now, having said that, there are very, very specific techniques. It doesn't matter whether you spread your feet and stand in warrior pose, stand on your head, do purification practices, gaze at a candle flame, do the chanting, meditation, watch your breath, combine it with mantras, and even the holy practices of Kriya Yoga and the great mudras, bandhas, and pranayamas that come with it. They all have as their final outcome bringing the energy up here to the Christ center, and the rest is between you and God. That's when we leave the self-definition and go from was, will be, and am into just I am. So there is something to be said about bagel struggling with yoga, unable to find its center. The message is, don't be like the bagel, find your center. So once somebody asked Yogananda, he asked, Master, can somebody find God without doing yoga? And Yogananda said, of course, that is possible, but it's only a few of them that will be successful, because only few come with the deep spiritual karma of doing this without the assistance of yoga. For most people, that is not the case. They start out very enthusiastically, and after many years, their prayers become more mechanical. They are beset with doubt and uncertainty. And he said, this is a wonderful metaphor. He said, just like a lens can focus the sunlight and ignite a piece of wood, the practices of yoga can focus your mind and burn away doubts and uncertainty. So that is what we are celebrating today, the International Day of Yoga, these impossibly ancient practices that has as their final goal no less than the greatest question in life, which is how to be in the eternal now and claim the divinity that is our birthright. So let me finish with this reading from Whispers from Eternity.